Tonight, when the sun goes down, imagine an army marching toward your city. They do not shout. They do not run. They move in absolute, terrifying silence. You count them from the city walls, exactly 10,000 men. The next day, a bloody battle takes place. You kill hundreds of them with your spears. You watch their bodies fall into the dirt. Yet, when the sun rises the following morning, you look out across the plains. There are still exactly 10,000 men standing there. No more, no less. To the ancient world, this was not just a military force. It was sorcery. This was the elite guard of the Persian Empire. The Greeks called them the Immortals. But they were not ghosts. They were the product of a terrifyingly brilliant psychological trick.
Let us look at the year 500 BC. The Persian Empire was the largest superpower the world had ever seen. It stretched from modern-day Egypt all the way to India. Millions of people lived under the rule of one man, the Great King. To control this massive expanse, the king needed more than just swords. He needed an illusion of absolute invincibility. Herodotus, the ancient Greek historian, studied this army closely. He recorded a strange, rigid law that governs the unit. The number of the army could never change. It was permanently locked at exactly 10,000. How did they maintain this perfect number during a bloody campaign? The answer lies in a brutal, invisible logistics pipeline. Behind the front lines, a shadow army of recruits waited in total silence. For every immortal who fell in battle, a replacement was already walking forward. The switch happened instantly. The enemy never saw a gap in the ranks.
Have you ever looked at an army that cannot bleed? To the opposing soldiers, it felt like fighting a multi-headed hydra. You cut off one arm, and another identical arm grows back before you can blink. But the illusion was not just about numbers. It was about visual conformity. Every single member of the 10,000 wore identical uniforms. They wore heavy, glittering gold jewelry. They wore long, flowing robes that hid their armor beneath. Most importantly, they covered their faces. They wore soft fabric tiaras that wrapped tightly around their mouths and noses. When you looked at the Persian line, you did not see individual human beings. You did not see fear or sweat or exhaustion. You saw a wall of identical, faceless statues. If a soldier died, his replacement wore the exact same clothes, the exact same face mask, and held the exact same spear. To the Greeks, it looked as though the dead man had simply stood back up.
Modern military psychologist Dr. Jonathan Shay notes that human beings rely on visual feedback to understand their enemy. We look for signs of weakness. We look for a line to waver. What happens when your enemy shows no expression at all? The psychological toll was devastating. Ancient battles were won or lost based on morale. If you believe your enemy cannot die, your spear feels useless in your hands. Panic spreads through the ranks like a virus. The Immortals won most of their battles before a single weapon was drawn. But their equipment was also highly specialized for this psychological warfare. Every immortal carried a spear. At the bottom of that spear was not a simple metal spike. It was a weighted golden pomegranate. The ordinary Persian soldiers carried silver pomegranates. The elite 10,000 carried gold.
When 10,000 golden pomegranates struck the earth at the exact same second, the ground vibrated. The sound was a low, rhythmic thud that could be heard miles away. It was the heartbeat of an empire. Yet, beneath the terrifying golden fabric, these men were highly trained human biological weapons. They were chosen at a young age from the noblest Persian families. From the age of 5, they were stripped from their mothers. They were taught only 3 things: to ride a horse,
to shoot a bow and to speak the absolute truth. They lived in a state of permanent discipline. They ate a strict diet of wild fruits, bread, and hunted meat. They slept on the bare ground in the freezing cold. By the time they reached adulthood, their bodies were hardened machines. They were fully prepared to become a nameless cog in the king's grand illusion. But every illusion eventually meets its match. In 480 BC, the Immortals marched into a narrow coastal pass in Greece, a place called Thermopylae. There, the Persian king Xerxes faced 300 Spartan hoplites and their allies. In that narrow pass, the psychological tricks of the Immortals failed. The Spartans did not care about the gold. They did not care about the faceless masks. The pass was too narrow for the 10,000 to surround them. The Greek historian Herodotus noted that when the Immortals charged, their short spears could not pierce the heavy bronze shields of the Greeks. The faceless men fell by the hundreds. For the first time in history, the world saw the Immortals bleed. The illusion was shattered. We look back at the Immortals as a relic of ancient history, but their tactics never truly died. Every modern military parading in perfect, identical synchronization uses the same psychological code. They hide the individual to project the terrifying power of the whole. We build systems to make ourselves look invincible to the world. We wear masks to hide our vulnerability from our enemies. But history reminds us that beneath the gold and the faceless silk, every empire is built on fragile human bone. Are we truly strong, or are we just hiding the replacements in the shadows?